Hi guys, part two of the video. Just obviously easier to do videos and try and fast track everyone where we're up to. So let's go over a bit about me. I was born on 3rd of the 6th, 1981, so yeah, basically my birthday's coming up next week. I was born in Sydney, Sutherland Hospital, somewhere there. My mother's name was Jan Leslie Davies. She died I was actually 2, so she died when she was 34. I was 2 years of age. She died of an asthma attack in the block of flats she lived in with my auntie. Had a gas leak, caused an asthma attack, died. At the time, my mother was living with her sister, Diane. Diane come home, found her sister dead, and found me in the room with her. So my mum and my auntie lived together. They had a unit together, Sans Souci, Hurstville somewhere, not sure. So basically my auntie took me under her wing, as you know, she was pretty much looking after me anyway from when mum died. I went to my grandparents for about 3 years. They obviously became sole custody of me while all the paperwork was processed. They lived in Botany Street, Hurstville. I lived with them till I was 4, and then my mum now, which is my auntie, which is confusing, I've always called her mum, she adopted me and she married a Spring, so the Spring name came from my auntie's husband. So technically my mum now is my auntie. She has 2 children, Diane and Jeff, younger than me, but I've always called them brother and sister. Quite confusing, but that's just how it is. I was brought up in that family as a son, not a cousin. So Diane's technically my auntie, but my mum, if that makes sense. And I actually look more like Diane than Jan, which is pretty crazy. My parents separated in 1999. We moved to Young from Sydney in 1988, sorry. Confusing. I was basically 6 at the time, moved to Young, moved out the country. That's where I'm currently based now. So Young's a small country town, population's about 8,000 in town, 12,000 surrounding districts. We're famous for cherries here, so if you've ever ate a cherry, pretty much would have come from Young. So mum and dad moved here to get away from the city life. They lived in Guildford for 4 years. It started to get a bit hectic and expensive. They bought a security business, and Young moved to here in 1988. Dad moved out and moved to Queensland, basically abandoned the family when I was about 12 or 13. So went back to having a single mum from 13. And then I moved out about when I was 16, started a job at KFC, and also started my apprenticeship as an electrician. Had 2 jobs for a year. Finished my apprenticeship in 2001, and then I moved to Newcastle in 2002. Lived in Newcastle till 2012, where I met my first wife, Jackie. We left Newcastle in 2012 after buying and renovating our first property in Katara. Then we travelled around the world, and we travelled around Australia for about a year in our van. We didn't work. We made enough money out of our first property to have a year off and travel. And then I got a job offer from an electrician who was basically from Young originally in Western Australia, Port Hedland. Money was too good to say no, so we stayed in Port Hedland for 3 years, and then I ended up moving up and running a mine site for about a year, and then moved on to Port Hedland into BHP, into iron ore production as electrician. And then we decided we'd had enough of the whole mining experience and missing family, so our 2 options were move back to Newcastle, where Jackie's family was, and pretty much with my friends, or come back to Young, my pretty much all roots where I grew up. and give the country life a go. So we decided to move back to Young in 2014, pretty much in December. We got back, drove back to the bottom end of Australia, come back to Young to try and start a family. We'd currently been trying for kids for 5 years, no luck. Moved back to Young, bought this house, renovated it. 2 rounds of IVF, both failed. Basically, Jackie had endometriosis, stopped us from having kids. Then we went down the adoption path, got accepted for that, and then it kind of just didn't work out. Put a lot of stress on our relationship, the whole kids thing. And then we basically become friends. We'd just been together for way too long, became best mates more than partners or lovers. And then she basically walked out on me for another mate, which is all good. We get along, we're fine, good friends. And then last year I met Kiki in Sydney on Tinder. She told me she couldn't have kids. So yeah, basically ruled out having kids. I thought, well, this is basically my fate, destiny, not to have kids. 3 months of meeting Kiki, she come back to Young for a weekend as she was living in Sydney in Annandale. She worked for My Plates. She was a 2IC at My Plates. We were just doing the whole country city thing. Every weekend I'd go to Sydney. Second weekend she'd come here. 3 months in, she told me she was pregnant, which was quite mind-blowing. We're both happy about it. Obviously both wanted kids, thought it was never possible. So that was last July, and we had Lily 11 weeks ago tomorrow. And we're currently, Kiki's moved here now. Her family's from Sydney. Their parents live in Kingsgrove now. Her dad's terminal with MND. He's 69. So we come up to Sydney pretty much every few weeks to try and, spend as much quality time with Roger as we can. Kiki's got a pretty big family based around Kingsgrove, Campbelltown, a few other places like that. Yeah, so that's where we're at now. I currently run an electrical contracting business here, Anything Electrical Australia. Started in Newcastle, moved it to here. Predominantly do a bit of everything really, data, security, communications, new homes, maintenance. My jam is lighting. I'm really into lighting. It's just that thing you just can't beat. Also, I currently run a hydroelectric power station at Wyangla Dam. So we generate power from water, and we pretty much will power Cowra, which is a town of about 7,000 to 8,000 population, through green energy. So I'm on call 24/7. If we have a look here, this is a power station running now. So just go into here, check out your little grid and all that. So the downside of that, I run the site myself. I'm on call 24/7. Basically, I'm monitoring the whole system here from home. Any call out storms, anything. Basically, it's an hour and a half drive, so I've got to drop everything. Could be 2 a.m. in the morning, jump in the vehicle and head to Cowra to bring the station back online. So we currently generate enough power to power Cowra. Depending on that, the way it works, the water that's allocated through Wyangla Dam through generation is allocated for farming, town water, downstream all the way down the Lachlan. So I control the water allocations. State Water give me the allocations. We pinch that water, put it through the power station, generate green energy, push it out, push it into Cowra. Some comes to Young. Then the water's diverted back out through the generator, back down to the rivers, down to the Lachlan Valleyway. So that's kind of like a side project on Anything Electrical. I've got 2 divisions of Anything Electrical, the town, commercial, security, and then on the side I run the hydropower side. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So yeah, video part 2 done.